Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today is the last day of the month, so that means it's time for month in review. I pulled out the simple stories for the record collection, as well as this sketch bundle from Scrapbook Generations. It is sketches for month in review. It is 22-page sketches, and I'm using sketch number 8. I planned this layout before March Madness, and it took me a minute to reorient myself to how I was going to lay it out. Even though I had it on the spreadsheet, I didn't remember what my idea was, and I knew that I wasn't going to do wall-to-wall photos. So as I was trying to remember or really figure out what I was going to do for this layout, I decided to go ahead and cut down my 3x4 photos. I have 12 3x4 photos and 3 4x6 photos, giving me a total of 15 photos for this layout. So after I got the photos cut out, I remembered that I was going to add some flip-flaps, because you guys know that I love to add flip-flaps to a layout so that I can get even more photos. So I'm just arranging the photos how I think that they would work for the flip-flaps, having one photo on the base layout and then 2 in the flip-flap. I pulled out this blue pattern paper because I really thought that that's what I was going to use on the right-hand side of this layout. The sketch itself calls for a panel on the right-hand side with some tiny hearts and stitching through the hearts. At first I thought I could use this blue paper with the printed flower, add additional flowers, and stitch through them. But then I was like, I don't like the way that these flowers look on this paper, so I pulled out this orange paper instead and decided that I was going to stitch through that. The sketch does call for a 1/4-inch strip on either side of that paper, and it calls for a stripe strip. But because I knew that that paper was going to be really busy, I decided to pull out this blue shimmer paper from my collection. I don't have a lot of solids from this for the record collection, and I knew that I had to pull in some cardstock from my own stash. I cut down the orange piece, and I knew that I wanted to have the flowers cut in half on one side, and the other side just kind of flowed. I got more than half of the flower. I then cut down this shimmer paper, and I cut it a little bit large because I knew I was going to tuck it behind the orange paper. Once I got that paper down, I knew that I was going to need some 3x4 cards as well as a 4x6 card. I decided to go ahead and cut out this orange grid paper for the far left-hand side so that I could balance out the large amount of orange that was on the right-hand side. I then looked through the 3x4 cards and I pulled out 2 that I thought would work. I love this camera. I added that over on the right, and then I also found this card that says "Make Life Amazing." I did pull out my 4x6 grid cards and added 3 of them around the layout. I knew I was going to have a lot of journaling and I needed a lot of journaling space. I actually don't end up using those, but they stay for a majority of the layout. Because I did trim them down, they had a rounded border and I didn't want that. I went ahead and cut out that shimmer paper in 3x4 size so I could add it into the spaces with the grid paper on top of it. I pulled out the March card as well as the number 3 that I plan to use on all of my layouts this year. And then I started to work through the photos again, trying to decide which photo that I wanted over on the right. The sketch does call for 2 photos over there, but I didn't want to add another card, so I decided to just add 1 photo, and I am going to end up making my embellishment cluster a lot larger on the right hand side. So now I'm going to get all of the photos and the paper down. This is one of the Scrapbook Generation sketches that has a lot of embellishments on one side of the layout and then just wall-to-wall photos on the other side. I do end up adding a lot of embellishments to the squares that I'm going to leave open, especially that orange one, and then I'm also going to add quite a bit to the 3x4 card at the top. You guys know that I'm going to struggle on every single layout. I could not get this orange paper to lay straight on the layout. I had to pull it up and add it back down, but I finally got it, and then I started to work on the top row. I did pull out some of the photos so that I could put them in their flip-flaps and have them ready to go when I am done with this layout. I do like to adhere my photos together that are going to go in the flip-flap and then trim off any of the excess from the photos so you can't see the back photo in the flip-flap. March is a full month for us. Both Eli and my birthday is in March, and those obviously will have their own separate layout, but I did include my birthday button from Disney on this layout. So let me just walk through some of the photos as I'm getting the rest of the paper down. Up in the upper left-hand corner is my friend Cheyenne. That is our monthly crop that we attend. And Cheyenne came to the crop after going to the doctor that morning to have some filler added to her lips. So she sat there with ice on her face most of the day, which I thought was hilarious. The photo next to it is my mom and one of the dogs that we watch on a pretty regular basis. That is Oliver. Because I was going to be at the crop all day, my mom watched Oliver and Eli for me. She didn't look very enthused in that background, but the picture of Oliver is pretty stinking cute. The 4x6 photo that's on that second row there, that is actually me working through March Madness of last year. My goal last year was to try to use up some of the photos that I had already printed but didn't have a plan for. And so I was matching up photos with sketches in that particular photo there. The bottom left 4x6 photo is actually a screenshot of the back end of YouTube. On that particular day, which happened to be March 20th, I noticed that I had uploaded 50 videos up to that point. So of course, March Madness took up a majority of those. January of 2024 was when I decided to get back into my channel, and I worked hard to get my channel back to where it was before I took that year-long break. So from January 4th to March 20th, just 3 months, I had uploaded 50 videos to YouTube. And in those videos, I remember asking you guys to please watch my videos and to get my watch hours back to where they are. And now a year later, I am just blown away at where my channel currently stands. I've gotten over 1,000 subscribers within the last year. I created a Facebook group so that you guys can see all of the behind the scenes from creating these videos. I love sharing those little sneak peeks with you. I love asking your guys' opinions on what you think I'm working on, or showing you things that you don't get to see in these videos. I am just very, very thankful for where my channel currently stands, and I want to say a big thank you to all of you, because I wouldn't be here today without that. So I absolutely had to include that photo in this month in review. And then the last photo that's over there on the left-hand side is Eli coming out of the orthodontist. On that particular day, he received thicker wires and new brackets on his molars. All right, so I've got all of the photos down. I did mat the photo on the far right on some white cardstock just so that it would stand out a little bit on that busy paper. I thought about adding Eli over to the right-hand side because while Robbie is an amazing dog and we do watch him quite a bit, it kind of felt weird to showcase him, but the photo just fit better. And so I just went with it. I did put the month of March up on Fun Foam, and I'm trying to decide where I want that month to overlay on my photo. At first I thought I was going to do it at the top because there is some dead space up there, but I felt like the word March just fit better underneath. I do put the photo down flat, and then of course I have the word March up on Fun Foam. And then after 31 days of knocking out some layouts, I am going hard with some stitching. I'm going to do a cross pattern on these flowers. I tried to make my line go through the center of the flowers. These flowers are not symmetrical, so some of my lines went through the center of the flower and some of them didn't, and I'm just going with it. I brought out this ruler, which I don't really know how to use it. I'm just going with it. I drew all of my lines, and I decided to use this ruler instead of my normal Tim Holtz ruler because I was afraid that I wasn't going to get the line straight with the way that this is set up. I did slow the video down here so that you could see all of that gorgeous stitching. It was a great reward after 31 days of other layouts that didn't have stitching. I also stitched on that camera as well as the blue flower right next to the camera. And then over on the left-hand side, I did also stitch on that orange square. I made the decision to stitch on that one while I was stitching the flowers. So unfortunately, a majority of that gets covered up because I didn't plan it. I did add the March card as well as the number 3 over to the left. And then I also pulled out this green leaf embellishment. I felt like since I had it on the left, I should go ahead and add it over to the right-hand side. I added it right above the word March. And then I found this little binder clip that had some florals on it, and that was a perfect way to hide all of that kind of dead space in the photos. I did put that up on Fun Foam. I added down the green leaf over on the far left, as well as that March card. Both of those go flat to the layout. And then I was looking for some other embellishments to kind of tuck behind that to add to it. And I found this tag. I decided to cut it in half because I'm going to use it on both the left and right hand side of the layout, bringing in that color to both sides. I then added some foam adhesive behind the number 3. If you guys remember from my other month in reviews, I am covering up that area where it says 20 and then you can write in the number. I don't like the way that that looks, so I'm just going to add 2024 in another location. I didn't like the way that the number 3 was laying, so I did bring in an orange flower to kind of cover up that area as well. Then I felt like the 3 was covering up too much of the orange flower, so I pulled it up and moved the orange flower up. I added the other half of that tag to the right-hand side of the layout, and then went ahead and got that leaf down as well. And then also decided to add a little blue flower. I used so many flowers last month that I don't have a lot left, and I did struggle. When I first got this collection, I thought, no way am I going to be able to use all of these flowers. There's just so many of them. But the more I work with the flowers, the more they're kind of growing on me. And I am definitely adding a lot more flowers to my layouts than I thought I ever would. I did decide to add the flower cluster up there at the top. And I think one of the reasons that I am enjoying the flowers a lot is because those clusters are already created for me. Over on the right hand side, I added a green tag that says noteworthy, as well as a wood grain flag, and I did turn it on its side so it's sticking out of my title cluster. And then I figured, why not use all of these tiny little words? I found one that says, "This makes me smile," and I added a floral to that. That photo there is actually when I finished planning out all of my March Madness layouts. I was able to reduce down my photos from 2 boxes to 1. So that is super exciting to be able to actually get all of those layouts planned out. And by the end of that month, I was able to get 31 layouts in my albums and not in that box anymore. I added this yellow tag over to my title cluster as well, and I did decide to cut that in half so that I could save the bottom half for another layout. This collection has a ton of office supplies, and I'm just going with it. So I added a pen over to the right. Doesn't make any sense, but it's green. March is a month of green with St. Patrick's Day, so I was trying to look more for color than anything else and adding those in. I also found a green tag that says happiness. I did put that up on Fun Foam and add it to the 3x4 card at the top. And really, I'm just filling in the embellishment clusters with anything that I could find that felt like it went. I was trying to make sure that I pulled in anything that was green, going with the month of March, as well as making sure that I had some office supplies in each one of the clusters. While I'm building through those, let me talk through some of the other photos in the layout. The 4x6 photo that's up on the top right is actually a photo of the cargo ship that was in Baltimore, Maryland that hit the bridge, causing the bridge to collapse. Even though it didn't happen to me, I feel like it was a major event. That particular cargo ship hitting the bridge did block ships going to and from the port for 11 weeks. So it was a pretty significant event, and I don't mind having world events in my month in review as well. The photo right below that is the Easter eggs. We have a ton of Easter eggs that we always fill every year with money or candy. And that was a picture I took the night before Easter after I had filled all of those eggs. And then in my flip-flaps, I'm going to have a couple of different photos. On top of the Easter egg photos, I have a screenshot of Mr. and Mrs. Easter Bunny who arrived at Magic Kingdom. And I'm going to talk about in my journaling the fact that I was blocked out and I didn't get to see Mr. and Mrs. Easter Bunny. I was very upset about that. On the back of that, since it was a Disney photo on the front, I decided to go ahead and add my birthday button. And I do add a sticker to that says choose happy. And for the number on that one, I'm going to add my birthday. Even though I didn't receive the button on my birthday, I got it a couple days before. It just felt weird not having my birthday on that number. The other 3x4 card flip-flap that I'm going to use is actually a picture of my Joann's receipt. I recently talked about the fact that I like to go pick up their cardstock when they're on sale and kind of being upset about the fact that I'm not going to be able to do that again. But for some reason, I decided to take the picture of the receipt, which was literally the length of my hood on my car. And on the back, I did Photoshop it, but I wanted to show the close-up of the receipt, which shows that the paper was on sale 10 for $3. I spent $24 and I saved $37. And then the last flip flap is actually going to be a screenshot from Bella Boulevard's Instagram page when I was randomly chosen for their Let's Scrapbook giveaway. So it's just a screenshot of the post. And then inside the flip flap, I have the package that was delivered. So even though this wasn't on the 14th of March, I actually received the package on the 14th, so I just went with it. I'm going to use this same technique of using this circle die. I will have it linked below for you guys if you'd like to pick it up, as well as the stamp set that I'm going to use. I like to have my little circles 3 high, just like I use for when I'm cutting out my dickers. I will link Nicole's tutorial here for you as well if you would like to check that out. But I just stack 2 circles together. I put the date on the 3rd circle and then add that to the 2 stacked. So it does give my little circles some dimension. And then I put the date on each one of the photos. Unfortunately, I zoomed in for you guys and then forgot to zoom back out. So you're going to see me do all of this and then very briefly see me put them on the photos because I am zoomed way in. But then I realized that I had zoomed way in and fixed that for you guys. So you did see me put the circles on a couple of the photos that were left. And this was actually after I realized that I didn't cut out enough circles or stamp enough dates. Going to go ahead and add all of my photos back to the flip flaps now that they have the date on them and show you guys where they're going to lay on the layout. I started to look through the sticker book again, just trying to find some other pieces that I felt like I needed on my layout, really just filling in spots on the clusters. I am not trying to kill this collection like with Creating with Collections, but I do know that I'm going to be using it for the entire year. So by the end of this year, I will probably be very sick of this collection. So I want to get as much embellishments on these layouts as I can so that they are all done. I did pull out the adhesive brads and add those to each one of the clusters as well. When I started to write up my journaling, I just decided that I was going to just type up all of the journaling in Canva and then cut out the boxes in 3x4 and add them directly to the layout as opposed to trying to get them on the card. Because I had cut the cards down because of the rounded edges, I just didn't want to mess with it. And I actually love the way that this came out. They are not in order. Actually, at the top, I have the 13th through the 20th. Down at the bottom, I'm going to have the 4th through the 12th. And then over on the right, I'm going to have the 24th through the 30th. But the 13th through the 20th had the smallest space. And I had already added that floral down. And I knew that I would not be able to get the 4th through the 12th card up there at the top. So I just went with it. Once I got all 3 of those cards down, I then decided that I would bring out these enamel dots and add them around. I purchased these with a Peachy Cheap deal. So of course they are Simple Stories colors. And this particular one that I'm using actually ended up working, and I pulled in the blue, green, and red enamel dots for each one of the clusters. Now, Nicole did say she was going to try to play along if she can, and I do believe she has a video up today. I will link it down below in the description as well as at the end of this video so that you guys can check it out if you would like. I can't wait to see what she did with this collection for the month of March. All right, that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys are enjoying my interpretation of month in review with the Simple Stories for the Record collection. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.